It's a very good time to be a StarCraft 2 commentator on YouTube right now. Every once in a while, there's a bit of a replay drought where there's not that many amazing games for me to go ahead and cast. But over the last few weeks, I've had this particular Terran vs. Zerg sitting on my hard drive, and I didn't get around to casting it just yet because a bunch of tournaments released their replay packs all at once, and I've had some other games that I wanted to go ahead and cast first. So spawning here in the top right-hand corner of the map, playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have the most successful StarCraft 2 player of all time. Of course, that means we have none other than Serral. His opponent in the opposite corner, likewise an absolute channel favorite, playing here with the red Terran SCVs from South Korea. We are looking at Kjur's main command center. So this is a long, drawn-out macro game between these two. Well, spoiler alert, I suppose. Serral's going for a spawning pool first. But yeah, I looked at the replay timer for this particular game. It's a really long one, so I don't think that Serral is going to be able to obtain the victory of the Zergling cheese, unless this is going to be a 45-minute long Zergling cheese. I would be very surprised if Serral could pull something like that off. Now, Serral actually has been opening up with a lot of spawning pools first recently. It's actually a CC first on the low ground as well from Kjur. So normally we see the Zerg player going for the hatch into the gas, into the spawning pool. And normally we see the Terrans, well, going into a command center after the barracks. This time around, though, apparently, yeah, we're switching the tide here a little bit. This could be a bit of an issue for Kjur, but he's definitely going to finish up that command center in time. He's also sending out an SCV scout, so he will, at the very least, see the timing of that hatchery on the low ground. He's probably not going to spot the Zerglings leaving the base. So they're just about to finish up already. Pretty sure that Serral will be running these around the center scouting path. Or not. We'll see. It's Serral, though, so he probably knows that he should be dodging that SCV. Yeah? Nope. Yes. Yeah, these guys are very, very close when it comes to their scouting timings and exactly what they're looking for. Anyways, Kjur sees the timing of the hatchery, and obviously, with that timing, it should be done at this point. He knows that there is going to be a spawning pool out already. Because of that, he needs to be a little bit careful. Still decides to go for a double orbital command. Goes for the reactor right away. Okay, this is a little bit dangerous. He needs to start up that second supply depot on top of the ramp for sure. Yeah, he'll be fine. So you can't actually repair Terran structures until they're done. Yeah, good little bit of control right here from Serral, pulling back the weakened SCVs. Or Zerglings, rather. Yeah, so you can't actually repair these structures until they're finished. So he's just going to restart that reactor once again. Not an amazing start, obviously, here for Serral, because very soon, there's going to be two of those mules mining all at once. This is always a funny dynamic, right? You'd imagine that going a pool first against someone who goes command center first is an amazing setup for the Zerg, but really, yeah, this is now going to go pretty well for the Terran player. A couple of Zerglings ended up going down. Obviously, the third hatchery is not at the perfect time either. But this is what we're expecting at this point. When those mules kick in, and when they kick in and they start mining those juicy blue mineral fields, suddenly that Terran economy is amazing. So, excellent start right here for Kjur. Taking a little bit of a gamble. Obviously, there's a variety of one-base plays that Zergs can go for. We've seen even like one-base Ravager all-ins every once in a while once again. Terrans have become, yeah, quite comfortable with that command center first lately. And obviously there are Zerg builds that can counter it, but if you go for a one-base Ravager all-in, you would, yeah, put all of your eggs in one basket, and at that point, you're completely all-in. And Serral, not really the type of guy that will go for, well, a complete all-in at this stage in a, you know, a match. I mean, every once in a while you will mix it in, but very, very rarely. Anyhow, ooh. Alright, let's go, Kjur. So Kjur is going to try and push that little advantage he's created for himself by going for a fusion core. Sadly for him, he's going up against Serral. And Serral is kind of nasty when it comes to his scout timings and, yeah, all of the precision that comes with it. He sees the fusion core right away. He's going to see the big switcheroo, and I do believe that you're still going to commit to a battlecruiser here regardless. He could cancel the fusion core right now since the Overlord is gone, but I don't think he will. Like, the problem is you already commit so much, yeah. You already commit so much of your build, right? You need to have 400 minerals, 300 gas done by the time that this the fusion core finishes, so it's a little bit tricky. Either way, he's going for a triple CC battlecruiser opener, and despite the fact that this was scouted very early for Serral, it's still not going to be a walk in the park. Serral has to respond to this by going for a very quick spire of his own. So first off, he starts up the lair at a pretty early rate. No double upgrades or anything along those lines. He's probably going to go for that a little bit later on into this game, but he wants to get those Corruptors out as quickly as possible. He's going to need some additional queens. He's probably going to make a couple of spore crawlers as well here in just a moment. The real threat of the Battlecruiser is normally the fact that the queens are needed at both the third to deflect the Hellions, while also, you know, the queens are needed in the main base, right? You need to make sure that you actually deflect the Battlecruiser at the same time, too. You never really know exactly where the BC is going to go, so the Battlecruiser obviously could also jump towards the natural, so yeah, you need to be very cautious. So a couple of Roaches are coming up. It looks like Serral is going to split up the queens as well. Just making sure that he is ready to go wherever that Battlecruiser will head as well. So the BC at this point is out. Where are we going to teleport? It looks like we're going to, okay, group up together with the Hellions. I don't actually like that too much. I think now the queens can, yeah, all go in one location. You see this quite a bit, but it never works out. I'm not sure why Terran players keep doing that. Right? That did nothing. That did absolutely nothing. He's like, yeah, let me put all of my units in one big location, so rather than forcing the Zerg player to split up their units, they can just pull them all together. Anyways. In the end, though, quite a bit of damage was done as well by Cure, just by going for the Battlecruiser opener. He knows now exactly what it is that the Zerg player is going for, so... What the Zerg player is going for is a Corruptor-based army with Roaches and Ravagers on the ground. This is not usually what Zerg players feel very comfortable with. They don't really like playing this style as much as they like playing Ling Bane most of the time, because Roaches and Ravagers, they do fall off in the later stages of a match, but honestly, I don't think that Serral really feels comfortable playing any Zerg strategy. Like, for example, me, I don't have as much practice playing Roach Ravager as I do with... Oh, well, you know what? Yeah, Serral's sleeping on the job for just a moment. Okay. Well, that actually did a lot. I don't think Serral, though, is going to be too bothered by playing Roach Ravager. 11 drones at the 7-minute mark. Doesn't hurt as bad as 11 drones at the 5-minute mark. Still 11 drones, but he's going to be able to replace those relatively easily, and... There's not really that many timing attacks that you can do as a follow-up right now. So say, for example, you're playing Terran Bio, right? And you manage to kill like a dozen drones on the side of the Zerg with your first bunch of Hellions. Your 1-1 or your 2-2 timing attack with Terran Bio is going to hit like an absolute truck because Zerg is going to have to replace those drones. And at that point, obviously, their eventual army is not going to be as big. Usually, Terran Mech is played a little bit more passively. It's not as timing-focused. So this drone harassment, don't get me wrong, it's still awesome. But there's not going to be as direct of a punishment here. Usually with Terran Mech, I mean, there are timing attacks that you can go for, but usually with Terran Mech, you do go for, yeah, a bit more of a passive approach, especially on Data C. I think the vast majority of games I've seen recently that, you know... Whoa! Serral did just kill... Wait, was that the collateral damage of the Hellions, or did Serral just accidentally target fire down that little crab beetle? That's bad luck, dude. You can't do that. Anyways, what I'm getting at is that normally this Terran Mech style... It's a bit more passive. It's a little bit more turtley. Now, he's still making Battlecruisers, by the way. He is going 1-1 upgrades for the ground units. So, he's not going to be able to, at the very least, deal a ton of damage with those BCs until later. But I'm a big fan of Battlecruisers. As is every science fiction fantasy fan, right? I think everyone loves Battlecruisers. Maybe not so much to play against, but they're a lot of fun to watch. I'm actually so glad, right, that like Battlecruisers are now a core part of the Terran strategies. They're not necessarily the best unit in the game. They're gonna have to get on out of here as well right now. Did he actually lose one? No, he didn't. Okay, I was gonna say. One of them just barely jumped off screen, apparently. Anyway, yeah, they're not like the best Terran unit by any stretch of the imagination, but for like the first 8 or 9 years of professional StarCraft 2, we never really saw them, but these days, yeah. They did have to get nerfed as well, right? After Blizzard, like, overdid it a little bit when their instant tactical jumps were maybe a little bit too strong. They had to be toned down a little bit, but they really are a pretty common unit in 2022. Maybe not as common as they once upon a time were, but at the very least, they're played now, unlike the first, well, so many years of StarCraft. Anyhow, is there really something that Serral can do at this point, right? I think the main reason to deal damage on the other side of the map here as Terran is to make it so that Zerg can't actually just go and kill you. Since Serral had to replace a lot of those workers, okay, his army over here is not as big as it would otherwise be. He does snipe the command center there, so Definitely slows down the Terran quite a bit, but I don't think that this Zerg army is going to be able to go up towards that high ground. He can try, but there is a very nice spread on those siege tanks. They already have +1/+1 done. There's Battlecruisers up in the air. There's missile turrets and other structures here to slow the advancement. I think that Serral is reading this correctly, and he now recognizes that he can't really break that very easily. He still may want to try because he's maxed out. And you need to replace those units, right? Like, he is sitting right now at 195 supply, and the army over here is really not that great. So what exactly do you do? Well, I guess you try and trade a little bit. Try to, yeah, maybe replace some of your units and trade them out for something better. But this is, yeah, this is good for the Terran. So normally what we see the Terran players do from here in the current meta of StarCraft 2 is transition towards Ghosts. So the ultimate Terran army in 2022 seems to be that Ghost Mech, right? Where you go for mechanical units like this, and then eventually you add on Ghosts as well. Oftentimes what Terran players do is go for Bio into Ghosts and then eventually Mech. But apparently Cure just, whoa, oh my god, well this is a big engagement over here. And now the siege tanks actually in the back are not part of this army. Good engagement right there for Serral. That was an excellent fight. Yeah, he wants to trade out those units. He does not want the Terran player to have another base. So if he can fight half the Terran army rather than all of it at once, he will take that any day of the week. Anyways, normally Terrans will go for, yeah, Bio first, and then, you know, infantry first, and then into, well, those Ghosts, and then eventually Terran Mech as well as the Marines and the Marauders die, but Cure decided to just bypass that step entirely. Excellent fights right here for Serral. What you got to keep in mind is that his economy here is really good. So, yeah, he's gonna get a good amount of income. He's also doing some Zergling run-bys and all that. I do believe that eventually, though, Cure should be able to secure this expansion, just because the siege tank count is becoming ridiculous. We're pumping out 4 siege tanks at once at the, well, 11, nearly 12-minute mark. That is a lot of tanks, okay? He's gonna be able to, yeah, get a good amount of income with that army. But can you really push, right? How do you push with a siege tank-based army? Do you just unsiege the ones in the back and then move them forward and siege them up and then the ones in the back? And how do you push? Since there's so much creep already, Serral is the one that gets to really decide the pacing of this game. And so far, apparently his style is to play the Swarm. He's going into a hive right now. He's adding on a Nidus network and all the rest of it. But he's mostly just going Ravager, Ling Bane. Trying to engage, knowing very well that the Terran player has to split up in order to secure that 4th expansion. Queens are now at the front door. This is not very easy. I think that very soon we're also going to see Nidus worms inside of the main base of the Terran. At the very least, that's what I'm expecting right now here for the Zerg. And obviously, since Terran is spreading themselves very thinly around those bases, it might be hard to defend that. Now, this is good. This is alleviating a lot of pressure. It's buying a lot of time right here for Cure. Oh, one Hellion somehow manages to stay alive for at least a little bit longer. Battlecruisers now moving forward as well. Corruptors are here. He needs to teleport those back home, and he does. Nicely done. So this is where it ends for most Zerg players, right? If you face me on the ladder, I can do, you know, what Serral's doing here somewhat. However, here's the next problem. For Terran here, it's Infestors and Vipers. Those units are not easy to control simultaneously, but the top tier Zergs can pull that off. And that's usually where the game becomes extremely tricky. Nidus Worms at this point are available, by the way. The first one apparently, yeah, just as a stepping stone towards that next one. That one is going to go into the main. Terran army right now desperately scrambling on over in that direction. Obviously, this could just be a distraction. You never really know exactly what's in there. But it's not like Serral's gonna max out on Roach Ravager over and over and over again. He's getting further upgrades. He's getting units that he can transition to later on into this game as well. And I do believe that right now, the ultimate late-game Zerg army seems to be based around Broodlords, Infestors, and Vipers. Usually a lot of Spore Crawlers as well, yeah. So there's the Greater Spire coming up, but you can see that Serral is doing so in a pretty comfortable way. He's not really rushing up towards those Broodlords by any stretch. Could have been there a while ago. Instead, he's just transitioning slowly but surely. Good control right here from Cure. Now, I think the real test will come when Cure wants to secure a 5th. These first 4 bases are relatively nicely laid out, right? They're like in a nice little, well, quarter of the map. The bottom left quadrant is relatively easy to acquire, but where do you go from here? Both of the potential 5th bases have creep on them. because Serral has been spreading that creep all over the map. So I feel like that will be do or die here for Cure in just a moment. He's maxed out here, so alternatively, he could go for a big push through the center. But I don't know if that's going to work out. Like, he doesn't have any Ghost yet in the mix, so it could actually be. He could definitely make, like, a big all-in as soon as, like, +3, for example, finishes. He's harassing once again. He's actually dealing a lot of damage with that harassment of his. 39 drones have gone down in this game, opposed to only 4 SCVs. Again, Serral can replace those easy peasy, but... yeah. It slows it down. Okay, so here we go. This is a very ambitious command center. There's a guy right now in front of the command center seat. The captain of the CC flight. It's not just securing this base. Because you can move your entire army over there. But obviously Serral could just take down this expansion instead. So I love this planetary fortress. That planetary fortress is going to make it easier to secure a 5th. Which sounds a little funky, but it allows the Terran right now to commit more supply towards this expansion instead. Now that's a lot of corrosive biles. That command center just took a beating. So are we not making a transition towards Ghosts? Like, that's my main question here. Oh. Okay, Blinding Cloud over there. A couple of good Blinding Clouds. Yeah, that planetary is actually huge. Okay, Fungal Growth is preventing those Battlecruisers from getting on out of there. Tactical Jump is available on these two, so they will be going back. They now find themselves on the other side of the map. He's going to try and make a planetary over here. Neural Parasite on one of the Thors, trying to get it to change side as well. Some good corrosive biles. Picking off a bunch of units. Oh, the Thor. The Thor is actually finishing off some of those red HP Terran units instead. One of the BCs was just killed by one of the Thors. Okay. Yeah, this is tricky. Here's some Neurals once again. So, we see this Terran Turtle style quite a bit in the current meta of SC2. A lot of you have noticed as well in the comment section of these videos, at least I've been reading most of your comments on these videos, saying that it seems to work against, like, Zerg players below the top 10 in the world, but guys like Serral, like, barely ever seem to lose to this heavy turtle approach that Terrans are going for. There's, like, a handful of Zergs that are really comfortable against this. So, Raynor comes to mind, Serral comes to mind, the Dark and Rogue, and maybe there's a couple more. Everyone else below, like, that top 5 Zergs seems to struggle against this. But I have seen Serral time and time again dismantle this sort of army over the course of, well, sometimes it takes upwards of an hour. But yeah, against the best Zergs in the world, this sort of style never really seems to work. It is interesting to me, though, that Cure is not going for any Ghosts. Like, he is just sitting around on this low-tech army. Or, well, high-tech army, I suppose, but without, you know, the most critical unit, without the unit that is considered to be probably the best in all of StarCraft 2 right now. It's a high-tech army, but it's not as strong as it could be. So if you think about this ultimate Terran force over here, there's 2 units that could make it better in my mind. Now, this is a sloppy Mizraeli over here. There's 2 units that could make it better in my mind. And that is the Ghost as well as the Raven. And we see neither Spellcaster at this point. So finally, we do have a Ghost Academy. There are... how many barracks? Okay, 3 barracks here in total. So it's really only 2. Yeah. So now the Ghosts start up. I've been shouting about the Ravens over the last couple of months. I really think that they are a worthwhile addition to this Terran army. No Terran player at the top level ever makes them. So maybe I'm wrong, but... I really do think it's a good idea. Anyways, here's the next step in Serral's plan. He's been throwing Lingbane, Roach Ravager at this Terran force for a while. He's mixed in some Infestors and Vipers as well. Corruptors, of course, to get rid of the Battlecruisers. But now we're morphing those Corruptors into a bunch of Brutes instead. Dark in particular has been very fond of going for like 40 plus Brute Lords, which is kind of a lot. So by the time, by the way, that the first Brutes are out, +3 is already underway, which, yeah, definitely is kind of scary. Kjordal already has Thors out. He's gonna get Ghosts out as well. So I think he should be able to deal with any Brute Lords up to this point pretty easily. Oh. I was wondering how he was going to deal with that Battlecruiser, but apparently Neuroparasite and Ravagers are the way to go. Fair enough. Not a lot of anti-air in that army, but apparently enough. Advanced Ballistics coming up as well for Cure. Isn't it interesting how, like, in the previous multiplayer balance patch, we saw a lot of... Oh, that's funny. We saw a lot of Protoss players turtling, trying to get that maxed out army. And then, you know, the Void Ray and all that got nerfed. There's not as many late games of Zerg versus Protoss anymore. In the new patch, however, it's apparently Terrans that are, yeah, enjoying that turtle style a little bit more. Anyways, a lot of infestors here on the ground. I don't think that Cure... Okay, he does see them right now because he scans. Anyways, makes you wonder, right? If first off Protosses are turtling, and then Terrans are turtling, maybe it's the Zergs that are actually the issue? Anyway, that's a discussion for another time. So the Brute Lords have arrived. Up to this point, it seems to me that Serral is in the driver's seat of the game. He seems to be very comfortable playing this game so far, and he seems to know exactly what he needs to do. That being said, Cure at this point is maxed out. He's got a solid bank, and his army is incredibly powerful. Both players had a relatively similar amount of resources spent right now when it comes to their armies. So you can see the army value here in the top left-hand corner of the screen. My main concern at this point, though, is the fact that Cure is not able to mine as many bases. So I would love to see more drones sent on over through this expansion here. Well, right now there's none. But I think, yeah. So this is what I've been bringing up in previous casts too. It's likely that Terran is going to attempt taking this base after the bottom right corner. And if Zerg can mine that one out, there will effectively be one entire base up over the Terrans, right? Assuming the entire map mines out. Anyways, Cure thinking about taking the opposite base instead. But I'd like Serral moving those drones further forward here initially. Brute Lord's still coming up though, continuously harassing those Terran expansions. At the same time, Cure has taken care of one of the hatcheries on the other side of the map, so I like that move. Then again, those Thors are not at home right now, yeah, so it's just going to be reinforcing units for the Terran player instead. There was a tactical nuke also, okay, mate right there inside of the Ghost Academy. Actually, hold that thought, oh my god, massive neuroparasites coming up. That is a lot of dead Thors. Those siege tanks are gunning down whatever they can. Corrosive Bile is getting rid of that as well. 17 drones, though, did fall. Yeah, and I think that in the end, that is indeed an advantage there for the... Well, actually, it's really hard to say. Like, Terran had more army size. Yeah, I think it is an advantage for the Zerg after all. Despite the fact that he lost a lot of drones. He still had quite a few of those available. He can easily remake a dozen of them if he really needs to. Drones are, in the grand scheme of things, relatively cheap. Now, taking care of these bases, though, is super nice. So maybe resource-wise, one-on-one, it's a slight advantage for Serral. But Cure took out two of the bases that he is going to need at the later stages of this game to actually obtain the victory, right? It's hard for him to actually continuously mine after these two over here. He's still going to have at least like 10 minutes of mining, but I think taking care of some of these bases up here, very, very nice. Well, this orbital command doesn't need to be there anymore. There's no mineral fields to mine. There's 38 gas remaining. I think that CC indeed can go down. There's an abduction once again. Abducting units into the spores. My god. Yeah, top level Zergs, man. They're so scary. I think a lot of that balance has to do with the fact that, like, the skill ceiling for Zergs seems to be a little bit higher than that of Protoss and Terrans, right? So for the longest time in StarCraft 2, that wasn't really a problem because no one was playing even close to optimal. But like, where you have these guys microing 3 spellcasters, moving the creep, macroing, and everything at the same time, it becomes... Okay, there's a nuke over here. I messed my my camera shot up. Anyways, it becomes extremely hard to even look at what you need to be doing. Ghost over here got sniped, and Serral is absolutely destroying Cure so far. Then again, Cure's army is massive. But this is what I'm talking about when, you know, I mentioned the top 5 Zergs, top 4 Zergs in the world, feeling relatively comfortable against this sort of style. I never really see them losing. Yeah, he seems to be doing everything. Like, he seems to be literally everywhere. Whew. I guess it's because of things like creep spread and all that. They don't really have like a... There's not really a mechanical limit, you know, that is as easily reached as, say, for example, not queuing up things in your factories, right? Like, there's... You can play StarCraft 2 for literally a decade every day, and you can still suck at creep spread, right? Like, it's one of those things that's not as easy to quantify and as easy to stay on top of. But because those guys are super fast, look at this, 478 average actions per minute in this game so far. So Serral upwards of like 8 buttons a second on average in the last 25 minutes. That's wild. It seems that Zergs have more things to spend their APM on, which normally for most humans is not a problem. But when we're talking about the top tier guys, they are constantly pushing that envelope. They are constantly moving around. Anyways, Cure is still in a good position here. He can do whatever he likes. He can make whatever army he likes. He's getting very good amounts of income. But I have seen this game before. Not this exact game, but I've seen this style of game before. Okay, so here's that Brute Lord explosion, right? 22 Brutes available at this point. Now we're talking about... Well, 3 Vipers, 7 Infestors. One cute little move that we saw Dark do in a previous game, and I actually really like that, is where he... I'd not seen that before at this level. Is where he throws the Brutelings on, for example, Changelings, or for example, a Creep Tumor, or a Spore Crawler, or whatever. And then he launches future Brutelings on the Brutelings that are already on the ground. And then he manually micros those Brutelings into the direction of the Terran army. This is incredibly APM intensive once again, especially while managing everything else, but it effectively allows you to get like twice as much range on your Brute Lords. It's kind of wild. I wonder if that's something that Serral wants to do as well. I actually saw that for the first time when Dark did it. Well, against another... I don't know if that was against Cure. I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, Tactical Nuke coming up. He's hoping for a nuke right here on top of all of that, but that's never going to happen. Anyways, I wonder if that's something that Serral is going to try and pull off as well. Hellions and Hellbats, though, have been dealing a ton of damage in this game. Yeah, cost efficiency still fantastic. So now suddenly, the Zerg is harassing the main base of the Terran player through the sky. One thing you have to keep in mind is that Brute Lords are rather slow. So if Serral commits them on the left side of the map, it's going to take them like a minute to move to the right. This is something that Cure could abuse, but once again, a couple of units here get picked off. Serral's such a monster, man. Anyways, here we go. Terran is trying to get an engagement in, but Serral's microing this so well that the Terran is just not getting a foothold. Every time we see those Brute Lords moving, every time we see a fungal growth, Terran units are dying. It's easy to make a mistake here as Zerg, but my god, does this guy look dominant. Ay, 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 ay. Serral already got multiple Zerg units nerfed in the past, right? Like, he's already single-handedly the reason why Zerg got nerfed multiple times. He is hard on his way to get Zerg. Hey, look! It's a Raven! What? I thought that wasn't possible! Terran players have been telling me that for a long time. Okay, I'm a little concerned what's gonna happen, though. Is that the Raven's gonna get knurled, and that the Terran army is gonna get anti-armor missiled instead. Cost efficiency wise, this is still pretty good for Terran. Money wise though, Zerg is just simply harvesting more resources in this game. Maybe not by as significant a margin though. This can actually still get incredibly close. Okay. I don't think you want to be running your Banelings into Thors, Mr. Serral. There's a lot of Thors right now in the middle of the map. Dude, this is scary. Cure was just idling them over there, but there was definitely a chance that like a dozen Infestors are burrowed on the ground and neuro every single one of them. You cannot afford losing a dozen Thors, believe it or not. I know, crazy. Anyways, a lot of people, when they see a game like this, though, will immediately discuss balance. And fair enough, I think that's fine. But I really do think it's the player, man. Like, I feel like if you give Serral Ravens, Ghosts, and all of those other units that Cure has at his disposal right now, if you give that in his hands, he would make it look ridiculous as well. Okay, now this is a good nuke. Killing a bunch of drones, slowing down the mining and all that. Cure still has one hell of an army. Like, I'm talking as if he's not in a good spot here. He's in a really good spot. It's just that I've casted so many games from this exact point of view before, and whenever Serral's playing, it just seems to be... Yeah, he seems to make it, yeah, look relatively easy. Still, this game is not over. A ghost just died on top of a mushroom, or whatever that is. We're gonna start Thor dropping. Okay, so Cure grabbing back some of that control. I like this a lot. There's a lot of very expensive tech structures here. Him splitting up his units and activating some, or executing rather some of those drops. Really nice. There's another tactical nuke. I like the cheeky little tactical nukes, although this one's also not gonna land. Hoping that maybe the brutes are gonna be flying over that. Oh my god. Okay, the Hive stays alive at only 50 health remaining. Little unfortunate there, but I do believe that Cure is gonna come back for more here in just a moment. Terran's still at 68 SCVs. It might be time for him to start sacrificing, yeah, some of those, because he's got a lot of workers that are not really doing a whole lot. Thors apparently have to do a victory lap around the main base first before they can leave, because this supply depot is not down. This may actually become one of those games, and it's been a while since I've seen one of those, where if you skipped ahead a half hour, it looks like the Zerg spawned in the top left and that the Terran spawned in the bottom right. Because I do think that Terran's probably going to put most of their production structures in the bottom right-hand corner, whereas Zerg is going to replace their tech structures in the top left. Kind of looks like it, right? So now the Brute Lords are back in the main base. They are dealing a tremendous amount of damage. Obviously, they only can hit air to ground. So, yep, those Terran structures are heading out at the same time. Brute Lords are on the left side of the map. They're slow as hell, so Cure is using the time at his disposal right now to make a move towards the Zerg side of the map. Venturing deep onto the creep. He's got that Raven in the mix right now, too. I like that a lot. He needs to be careful, though. Okay, scan over there does reveal where those infestors are. Grabbing those would be amazing. I would love to see a... Yeah, I was going to say a ghost moving forward to get maybe a couple of those bad boys EMP. Then it looks like he successfully pulled that off. Zergling run by in the meantime, being halted by a bunch of Hellbats. Another tactical nuke is flying across the screen. He's hoping for a lucky nuke, man. I don't know if I agree with that assessment. It's a good idea in theory, but it does look a little bit desperate, right? Cure hoping to land the nuke of a lifetime. I mean, if you nuke 29 Brute Lords, you win the game. Fair assessment by him. Anyways, look at this. Terran getting rid of the structures in the main base, whereas Zerg got rid of most of the structures in the Terran's main base. So indeed, we are heading in that direction where all of the production structures for Terran are in the bottom right, and Zerg is likely going to rebuild some of those tech structures in the top left instead. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. You know what? I've been complimenting Serral here like no tomorrow. But have a look at the banks. I think Serral's been making all the right moves. But these traits are not going as well for him as they... Yeah, as he probably would have liked to. Cure now has officially 5 digits worth of minerals. There you go. That is a lot. 10,000 minerals in the bank. Nearly 5,000 gas available too. Resources lost-wise, he's been trading excellently. And he is getting to the point where, yeah, he's mining out his final resources over here, and he can start getting rid of all of those SCVs, replace what little mining he needs with those mules instead, and then make one hell of an army. Cure at this point, by the way, not maxed out because he's been sacrificing SCVs. I like that a lot. I mean, maybe the SCVs don't, but we don't care about them. Anyways, Fusion Core ended up going down. Zerg only just now getting Adrenal Glands. Okay, I hadn't actually checked the upgrades yet. Adrenal Glands here is incredibly late. Those Zerglings should have had that for a while, but I guess they've just been harassing. They haven't really been fighting as much, so... Not a huge deal. Okay. So, 35 minutes of Terran versus Zerg has, yeah, reached a stalemate right now. These guys are mining out the final resources on the map, and at that point, it's gonna come down to the fights. Cure needs to be incredibly patient. One thing that we see quite a bit is Terran players overstepping and moving deep onto creep. Basically, this should come, like, there should be, like, those stop signs right here at the edge of the creep, you know? We need to have stop signs on the perimeter of the creep for every Terran player trying to make a wrong turn there. We need to make sure that that is not where he goes, because, I mean, he needs to go in that direction. He needs to try and get a good fight in and all that, right? I get that, but I think you might want to, like, I don't know, slow step it, like, with maybe tactical nukes or something? Like, maybe get a bunch of nukes going, land the nuke, move forward. Land a nuke, move forward. Land a nuke, move forward, right? Like, slowly, methodically dismantle this. Too often, we see the Terran players just rushing onto the creep, trying to get a jump on the Zerg, and it never works. So he needs to be cautious, but yeah, I do believe that Cure has that level. No, no. Please be patient. Please be patient. Okay, Spore Crawler's moving backwards right now. Okay, look at that. Anti-armor missile. Hell yeah, let's go. I was complaining about this just a couple weeks ago, but Cure... getting himself a nice anti-armor missile in the mix. Getting rid of his final SCVs here as well. Not... Okay. So it takes a while before the creep disappears. The only thing you can do is kill the creep tumors, and at that point the creep tumors will, well... slowly get rid of that creep, right? They will slowly make moves. So you don't need to step with a large army onto the creep. Just a couple units will do. Scan, snipe the tumors. Wait until the creep disappears. Move forward. There we go. Tactical nukes. That is where the previous... Where's the current Ghost Academy? Ah, there you go. That's where the previous Ghost Academy was at. Had to make a camera control group for that. Anyways, camera hotkey is set. Next time around, we can get some sexy shots of the nukes. Oh, is Serral doing the move? Yeah, Serral's doing the move. Did he do the move? I think he did the move. Where he, like, threw the Brute Lords on the ground, and then he threw more Brute Lords, or Brutelings, rather, on the existing Brutelings to move them as far forward as possible. I think you can do it on a Changeling. I think you need to drop a Changeling, and then... Yeah, look. So that's one way to get more range on the Brutes. So this is Terran, running into some issues by pushing slowly, right? This is a delicate dance. Cure has to push that Zerg army into a corner. That's too far forward. Yep. Anti-armor missile once again on the Brutes. Beautiful. I think using the nukes, and again, I might be wrong, but I'm just strategizing here. I think using the nukes as glorified creep cleaners may very well be the best move. It's 100 minerals, 100 gas, but if you can force like a bunch of those things down, it's really quite nice. There's still anti-armor missile on those Brutes, so this is good right here for Cure. If he fights with anti-armor missile on those units, that is fantastic. Okay. I think Cure is making all the right moves. I'm still horribly afraid that this will just be him getting destroyed here in the end. Because I've seen this happen time and time again. Then again, this is... It's a... Oh, okay. Well, that's a really very large anti-armor missile, but at this point, sadly, the Raven is gone. I've seen this time and time again, though, where Serral just dismantled this. I do believe he's a little too far forward. He missed the stop sign. Yeah, no, he's getting impatient now. I think it's because of the anti-armor missile. So the anti-armor missile, as long as those Brute Lords are covered in paint, right? As long as they have that orange coat, they will take additional damage from the Thors. So I think that's why he probably was being a little overly aggressive. Liberation zones cannot kill creep tumors. Actually, that'd be an interesting patch. I have never really seen anyone suggest that, but that might actually be a pretty cool change. If Liberators could not kill structures, but they could kill creep tumors, it would make this slow push much easier for Terrans. I haven't really seen anyone suggest that, but anyways, might be something wrong with that. Okay. There's a neural parasite. I do believe that Cure has been losing more, though, than he needs to over the last couple of minutes, right? Yeah. These traits have been... You see that? Like, it's kind of hard to spot, but he is losing way more here than Zerg. Zerg? I was trying to say Serral and Zerg at the same time. Anyways. I think more Ghost Academies and more nukes would be sweet. Are we gonna camp out here? Are we gonna put up, like... I don't know, man. Gotta be careful, Cure. Nuke is ready. I think we need to use the nuke. This nuke over here, get rid of some of the creep tumors. Force this Zerg player back. Get him into a corner. They can't run forever. So he's, in the last 5 minutes, he has advanced quite a bit, right? It's slow going, but he has advanced. Still, what you need to be careful of here as Terran is that you don't get complacent. If you get complacent here, Serral does not lose patience, okay? That's not how you win a game against him. You need to make sure, like, you don't get all your ghosts fungled or, you know, like that. Like, look at the amount of explosions. Oh my god, that's all the Broodlings going to the servers on Data C. Yeah, you cannot lose focus here. So Cure, by the way, has done a good job mining resources, but he's out of gas. I do not believe he ever made any marine upgrades. Yeah, you got +2, +1 here, I guess, for the ghosts. That's what I'm talking about. That was a good group of ghosts going down. And Cure does not have the gas to replace those units. Instead, he decides to go for a bunch of Hellions. Fair enough. But the last gas, apparently, that he's spending today is going to go into, well, whatever unit he decides to make next. He's got about... Oh, actually, he might need the gas as well for repairs. That's a real problem. Anyways, he's got about 250 gas remaining, whereas Serral has 4.5k. Why are we not using the nukes anymore? I think he could have stepped it a little bit patiently, like get about this much distance between the creep and the Terran army, and then move the ghost forward, nuke like the edge of this army, and then, you know, unsiege, move forward, do the same thing, rinse and repeat. It's 100 gas at a time, so maybe it's a bit much. Maybe it is a little bit much, I'm not sure. But you don't have to go that much further, though. Like, this is like 5 nukes away from being creep tumorless. Look at Serral. Serral's sitting there, man. Serral's sitting there. He knows everyone gets impatient. Everyone gets impatient at some point. They always get nervous playing against me. So far, Cura's gotten a little nervous. But not too bad, I don't think. Yeah, creep is the real strength of Zerg. Yeah, if Liberators could kill creep tumors, that might be a bit much, to be honest. Might be an interesting change. Fungal. No fungal. Blinding Cloud instead. Ooh. Once again, though, every time this happens, it's Terran losing supply. Serral is back and forth, back and forth. He does lose a couple of Brute Lords there in the mix, but really not that much. This is, once again, an overextension from Cure. He needs to be slower. But at this point, he doesn't really have an option to be slower anymore, since he doesn't have gas to make additional, what are they called? Nukes, right? He can't really move any slower than this. Units are getting abducted right now, one at a time. There's no more anti-armor missile available either, because that Raven got abducted some time ago. Serral is such a monster. It's honestly nasty. It's almost a feeling of desperation, right? It's like, what do you even do against this guy? Anyways, there we go. Neural parasites are going down. There's still so many Brute Lords up in the air. 20 of them are available. A lot of them are running dangerously low on health. But Serral can remax, right? And this is where the real problem starts. Cure has now got 7,500 minerals in the bank. He's making 8 Hellions at once. Whoop-de-doo. I'm not sure where he wants to really go with that. I think more Queens is a good idea for Serral here, too. More neural more transfuses is going to be amazing. And at this point, the anti-air for the Terran player is 3 Ghosts, 3 Thors, and I guess Liberators can also kind of tickle those air units a little bit, but I do not see the answer here for the 13 brutes. Okay, I do think this is doable for Terrans. I do actually believe that this was a winnable game for Cure. I just don't think his late game approach here was ideal. And I'm sure the Terran players at the top of the level, or the best Terran players in the world, they're all looking at these replays as well. They are studying, trying to figure out where they went wrong and what they should be doing better next time around. And I think clearing out that creep more cautiously is the way to go. Like, if Zerg is stuck over here, right? If they are pushed all the way back, then I do believe that Terran can win the fight. As long as those Spore Crawlers aren't really part of the equation, and as long as all of the Zerg units are clumped together like that, I do believe you can get a good fight in. But, yeah, if you're fighting on creep, and Zerg static defense is helping out, and you first off, before the engagement even starts, get half of your army fungled, yeah, what are you gonna do? Like, there's no way, right? There's really no way against these top-level guys when they're capable of microing their units correctly to obtain the victory there. Insane skill, though, man. Like, this is where the real story is told as well. Serral is quite literally... What is that? Like 180 APM faster than Cure on average over the last 45 minutes. So APM is actions per minute. That is so many more actions per minute. And obviously there is redundancy in there. There is certainly a... He doesn't have an answer to the Brute Lords, right? So like I don't really know exactly. Like he's still trying, but he doesn't have an answer for the Brute. So there's not that much he can do. Oh, he's making the best of it. He is making the best of it. Why are the Brute Lords idling? I think Serral probably had this game... in his mind, already won as well, so he didn't bother sending his brutes. Anyways, when you know at this point that Terran's just making Hellions and Hellbats, I don't think you're concerned for a second Thor army. Yeah, he's just trying to win the game. I mean, to be fair, the win condition of a game of StarCraft 2 is to destroy all of your opponent's structures. Brutes are not capable of killing flying structures, but there's still one Corruptor available. If Serral moves out... No, there's no way. No, that's copium by me. No, I'm not going to do the caster thing. There's no way, man. Cure is super dead, right? I mean, he's got 40 Hellions, soon to be 40 Hellions. Against Brute Lord Infest. No, dude, there's no way. There's no way. Anyway, I do believe that there is a way for Terran to win these late games. This is the first time that I've seen a Terran player mixing in Ravens. Or, not Ravens. One Raven. And then he never remade it, right? He also stood on that creep's edge a little bit too much. I think he bled out too many units during that engagement. I think Cure played an excellent first 30 minutes of this game. And in the last 17 minutes, they were just not as good. They were just, yeah, more properly played by Serral. I think Serral at this point is probably thinking, oh my god, he's got so much money. Where is he making all of this stuff from? Okay, he's split up the brutes. He hasn't seen a Thor in like 3 minutes. But you're always wondering, right, if Terran accidentally has another clump of Thor sitting here on the edge. Alright. A final hurrah here from Cure, as he is preparing to make the final assault. The final assault of the Terran. He's got roughly 50 cars. And that's it. Mules are... Wait, what? Hold up, I'm gonna go back. He scans over here to drop mules out of the sky? Fantastic. Cure is trying to steal Serral's minerals. I don't think these bad boys are gonna make it back home, though. Yeah, no. Fungal? Okay, I was gonna say, that could have been a disaster. Anyways, this game is super over. So, I'm curious in hearing your thoughts down below. A lot of people will look at these types of games and be like, Zerg OP, right? Like, that always happens, and that's happened ever since I first started watching StarCraft 2. As a matter of fact, if you scroll down right now, you could probably see some comments that are exactly like that, okay? Or at least, you know, in that category. Okay, there's the G. Like, obviously, the game is not perfectly balanced, right? With the way that StarCraft 2 is set up, it can never be perfectly balanced. Even chess is not perfectly balanced, right? White has an ever so slightly higher win rate than black in tournaments. So I don't think that StarCraft 2 can ever be perfectly balanced. And obviously, balance is always going to be part of it. But I don't necessarily think we have squeezed all of the juice out of the Terran late game here. I don't really see exactly what Serral could do to play that late game any better than he did, but I have brought up quite a few things that I do believe the Terrans could still experiment with. Anyways, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section of this video. An incredibly well-played game here by the finisher. GG, Serral obtains the victory.